Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at johnnydellsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website jfa49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag JD49. A victory Monday, as you can see. If you are watching on YouTube, which is the most fun way to watch, you can see that Johnny was super excited to get rolling today. Happy belated.
Let's go.
Let's go. Happy belated National Tight Ends Day, as a record 177 catches were made by a tight end, including our beloved George Kittle, who had 6 of those receptions for 128 yards and a tutty and a beautiful wife to boot. So, Victory Monday, we are here. Man, I'm kind of just like, oh, so this is what this feels like. This is episode 170, and I gotta feel like 155 of these things have gone this way. Like, is the vibe, and it's like, okay, let's get back to that. So we're super stoked. We got a lot to talk about. Let's look at real quick, Johnny. What I want to do is first, thanks all those. Johnny is quick on the showing the love to everyone, boosting the algorithm, hashtag JD49. He's rapid fire going through everybody. I want to get into our division real quick, because we're excited, because when you look at what our division is going into, as it's well documented, we are at the bye. So you look at the division, the NFC West, no one has more than 4 wins. So Arizona's 4-4, we're 4-4, Seattle's 4-4, and the Rams are 3-4. They had a bye. So you talk about being in the driver's seat. I know we've lost 2 teams in our division, which we're also not used to, by the way. It's like, man, now we're feeling, it's weird what a week can do, how we just feel so much better going into the bye. The Avengers are assembling. Happy Victory Monday, Johnny.
Yeah, happy Victory Monday. You know, that third quarter finally felt like 49ers football. It finally felt like okay, it looked like 49ers football. What amazes me is that we're still hitting some of the same plays for massive yards week after week. That's surprising to me. Normally, teams will get a beat on what you do. So people, when they say, Kyle's not being creative enough, look, we had a massive touchdown called back due to holding that was the same exact play we ran for a 76-yard touchdown with Deebo Samuel against the Seahawks just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Same exact play. Same exact player. We hit a big explosive down the right sideline that in the I think it was our second drive of the game, first drive of the game, set up the first field goal. That was the same play. We hit a big play to George Kittle last game against the Chiefs. We hit a big play to Kyle Juszczyk against the Jets. Same exact play. Wild that's happening. And again, that just goes back to show people say, defenses have figured out Kyle Shanahan. They know what we're going to do. The team was still able to just generate explosives almost at will. So the offense has not had trouble moving the ball this year. Their biggest problem has been actually just scoring points, because once they get down in the red zone, they haven't put up enough points. And then the defense has been very up and down. And we saw that in the fourth quarter. Adam and I were looking at it, and it was kind of funny, and funny in a not funny way. But when Dallas got to third down, they had just finished a third down. They're about to go for it on fourth down in the fourth quarter. 10 minutes and 50 seconds left. There's 10 minutes and 50 seconds left in the game. The win probability for the 49ers at that point in the game was 99%. 99%. And then Dallas converts that fourth down, and then kind of things snowballed from there. But it was a good win. Feels good. Now, we always have to be careful when you beat the Cowboys, because 49ers is like, that's our game. We're world beaters. No, we didn't beat the Packers. We didn't beat the Lions. We didn't beat the Chiefs. We didn't beat the Bills. This was the Cowboys team that was not playing well coming in. They still have lots of issues.
They were coming off a bye, though. I thought
they were coming off of a bye.
Thought they'd be better.
They are missing. They were missing two huge pieces of their defense. Huge
for
pieces.
Sure. Three, really.
Yeah.
Your DB, Brandt or whatever, is also missing.
Yeah. They still Bland. They still are a team that is in the NFL. They had the same record that the 49ers did coming into that game. They're 3-4. Excuse me. They were 3-3. Now they have the same record that the 49ers had going into the game. And you still beat them. So, you can only beat who's ahead of you, or who you're playing on the schedule. You can't beat anybody else. So you win that game, you take care of business, you get into the bye week. This felt like the last month of the season was just get to the bye. Just get to the bye, get in there with as little damage as possible, get into the bye and get healthy. Get some rest, get guys healthy, get Christian McCaffrey back, and have a big a change. My wife just walked into my office, which is a little weird. Oh, we're swapping vehicles, I guess. So she just gave me my
hi,
truck
Don.
keys.
Say hi.
Hi
to us.
Say they can hear you, so just say hi.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Yes.
She was throwing me off. I was like, why is she here in my office? Because not at home.
Surprised you with a trip to Disney World?
Not quite. No trip to Disney World.
Okay.
But anyways, lost my train of thought there. The train of thought was derailed. But we won, and the team's back on track. You're looking at getting Christian McCaffrey back again. Will be huge. I mentioned it in the last game in my review video. I said, we haven't run the ball really well. And somebody pushed back at me in the comments, and they were like, Jordan Mason is second in the league in rushing, or third in the league in rushing, whatever it was at that time. And I said, yeah, but this is a team that, with Christian McCaffrey out there, with what I'm seeing in film, that they would be number one in rushing, and it wouldn't be close. Like they would not be close. The difference that Dominic Puni has made in this run game has been huge. And it would not be close. There are holes there that are not being hit by Mason. He's either cutting it in too soon, or cutting it in a little too late, or there's just, he's not running it as well as Christian McCaffrey. That's not saying he's running bad. It's just Christian McCaffrey is a different thing. He was Offensive Player of the Year for a reason. He was in the MVP consideration for a reason. This is an offense that you get Jennings back, you get Christian McCaffrey back, you get a bye week, that this offense can be very, very scary. They can be the highest scoring offense in the league from what I'm seeing on film of meat that's still being left on the bone every single week. That is not normal. I'm not like, it's normal to have a few plays that you miss, but the rate at which they've been missing a few of these plays, where they're getting down in the red zone and not able to convert something, has been really poor. And so, get those guys healthy, get Deebo Samuel healthy, hopefully with his ribs. and you really start putting everything together. I was really happy to see us finally run a pick play effectively down in the end in the red zone. We did it. Get George Kittle his touchdown. If again, you guys probably seen the videos, we have been struggling running those rub and pick plays, and teams are just going man coverage. And when you can't rub and pick on man coverage, it makes it a lot harder. So we finally got a rub play, and it made me very happy.
Yeah. At first, it made me sad because there was a bit of yellow out there.
Oh,
But
I was literally like
Kittle was
like
even like, "No, no."
I had the post ready to go. I was like, that's such a BS.
Yeah.
That was not like it was typed out, and I was about ready to hit send, and then they were like, they're talking about it. I'm like, okay, I'll give you a chance. I'll give you a chance. And then they picked up the flag. They said it wasn't, and so I had to delete the whole thing. It was good. I was fine. I was fine with it. It was good. And then I amended it. It was more great non-call.
Yeah, now we had a couple plays as Johnny in the chat. Uh it happened to us, which that's what I want to get into first. One quick side note is that you probably saw if you were watching the game that the 49ers lead the league in players missed who were all pro. And so injuries are part of
Mhm.
the game, and that is, but when you lead the league in a statistical category with injuries, we did a couple years ago, we led the league in starts missed by starters. And it was like we were 40 games over what the next team down was. So like every team struggles with injuries, yada yada yada. But when it's like that drastic of a thing, it's like, hey, I know we should be 6-2 very easily. We should be 6-2, but that's just the way it is when these studs are not with you. So speaking of studs, I want to talk about first some of the instances and plays where the studs were not stunting and we didn't do so well. That pick play was one, letting
Yeah.
CD get break wild. Like, I mean, he runs literally like a horse. He really is a good player. I don't want to give too much credit to the Cowgirls, but um it's there were things that we didn't do, that great. What because I want to end on all the highs, and there's so many highs. So let's talk through as the bye weeks here. What are some things that you think after looking at the film? I know you haven't seen it yet, but
Well, I'm trying to
just
find the play and just watch that play real quick.
oh, okay, that'd be
So just
cool.
give me a second here.
The just and Faithful chime in, just watching the game through the eye test on, watching it live, what things stood out to you? I mean, I thought if this was 2016, the Cowboys would have had a heck of a rushing attack because, man, Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott, wow, 8 years ago called. They want their starting running backs back. But they were not, I couldn't tell if it was they don't have the juice anymore, or if our defense, if the line has stepped up.
Oh,
You know what I mean? What do you
sorry.
got?
I'm watching these. I'm watching the first. So this is fourth quarter, 4 minutes left. They get the drive going with a big pass to CeeDee Lamb. Renardo Green should have picked that ball off. He bailed too much. We were in cover two. He's in cloud, and he bailed out too much. If he sits in his cloud and eyes on Dak, that's a pick. Gosh. All right. That's frustrating. That's frustrating. I mean, Renardo Green overall played a really good game.
Forced a fumble.
Um,
Dak should have had 4
yeah,
picks for sure, Bazamayan.
yeah.
Sonic
And
and
then
Knuckles.
I'm looking at the next one. Um, looks like there's some lack of communication between Demo and Fred a little bit on an undercall. Looks like they can't get that communicated where it is, and so you end up with CD open there for a second. Good tackle by Malik. So yeah, and then I'm going to see the touchdown here. See who's really
CD really went off last night. That is for sure.
that's on Jair Brown. He
But
I
he
mean
made some plays
this
too.
is good design, but um Jair Brown changes his angle. He's starting to go over the top, and then he gets confused, like he gets indecisive and kind of works back and forth and just clocks Renardo Green. Can't have that. So yeah, just quick cursory look at the film
Yeah.
on that. So you got Renardo in cover two. That's on him. Then you have a communication error there between Fred and Demo, and then you have Jair Brown. So you have three plays that you just can't have back to back to back. Different guys. So man, not good.
Yeah, and the chat's given us a lot of talking points, too many penalties. Dr.
Yeah.
Steve, too many firsts, like, oh, longest run of Gino's career, longest run for Zeke this year, longest, like, too many of those. Our
Yeah.
stout defense is not seeming so stout in some of those situations. And sometimes it's right up the gut. I know Kyler Murray had to, bounce it outside, and we've given up some long runs, but that's not typical for a Niners defense. And going into the bye, I'm sure they'll have a ton of, you know, film to watch. How do you think the defense is doing as where we are coming into the bye?
Well, so if you look at Ezekiel Elliott's rush EPA, so that's what he was expected to get versus what he got per play. It was actually a yard less per play than what was expected. So he was -1 in EPA. So I mean, he had a couple that were there, but they did manage to keep them to, real short runs. Remember, it wasn't until Dallas just decided to drop back every play and go basically 4-minute offense at the end of the game that they were really able to get anything going. They scored 10 points up until 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It was a game for all intents and purposes was locked up, and Dallas was not like yes, they were still giving up a little bit, but the defense was playing, I think, better than we think or can kind of look back on because the team was not winning by that point in the first half. And it did seem like they were giving a few extra drives there. Now, you did have the great interception. Renardo Green did that. Like he was beat by about 2 yards on that play. I watched the clip of it this morning real fast, and it was he was open. Pressure by Bosa didn't allow that ball to get out there, and Jair Brown was able to get over and get the pick. But if you look at Dalvin Cook was -2.5 in EPA. So, neither of these guys had any real success. Dalvin Cook, 12 yards on 6 carries. Is averaging 2 yards a carry. Ezekiel Elliott, 3.4 yards a carry. The rush defense was better than I think, again, look like it appeared. And we kind of thought about it during the game again, because you had like one, I think, and most of those rush yards for Ezekiel Elliott came on 2 runs. It was like something like 18 yards came on two carries. So overall, they really did hem in the run. Now the concern there is when you look at rush EPA and you look at one Jordan Mason and it's -3.8. So
Right.
not a good night for Jordan Mason. But Isaac Rendo +3.5.
Well,
So
he's
so
healthy. Isaac
there.
Rendo is 100% healthy as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, now I think some of it too is hitting the right lanes, and getting that. And again, once you see Christian McCaffrey come back in this offense, assuming I don't know
You
where you lost me.
you left
I
and you're
bumped
back.
my network cable here.
Oh,
Um, but once we get Christian McCaffrey back in, once we
yes,
get
that's
all
where
that
you were at.
together,
Yeah.
it will be, this I expect this to ascend to a different level. I expect this team to be 32 points per game when Christian McCaffrey comes back. That's what I expect. I think what they've shown and where they can be, and yes, that is even with Brandon. I keep disconnecting. I'm double connected here. I have Wi-Fi and my network cable. I don't know why it's
You having an
dropped in.
earthquake in Bama?
I guess something. We got no excuse, but I think that the frustrating thing that we have is that it seems like when we play teams where they only have one offensive weapon, that it just seems like that offensive player will still just go off against us. And it's like we cannot stop that one player. Like, I don't understand that. But then when we are on offense and we're only down to one offensive player, we can't do jack. Like, that does always seem weird to me, but is what it is.
Yeah. I think that the big thing is, man, you talk about the Avengers are assembling. It just feels like, okay, things are coming together. I am a little worried about Jawan Jennings. Like, you think after the bye, again, the bye is just coming at the perfect time and he should be back as well. And from the defensive side, Greenlaw and Huff, John Lynch mentioned, yes, all those guys will be back. We have no reason not to trust him. So on defense, I feel like we're going to be so much better, and I feel like it's a chance to reset for sure. I want to talk about Mooney Ward. The chat was asking. He seems a little bit like a shell of himself. He made some good plays, I thought, yesterday, multiple. But is he just on a downward tick right now?
Coverage wise, he has not been the player. Now, again, this same thing happened last year. I don't know what it is about the 49ers. Is it the injuries in training camp that guys don't get a training camp and it's already an abridged off season? And so the first 2 months of the year are really like training camp. I don't know, because we were saying the same thing this time last year. Mooney Ward, maybe it's time to move on. Maybe he's not going to be here past this year. I think, he was having the same sort of coverage issues this time last year. The 49ers were 5-3 going into their bye. We only had one more win this time last year than we do now. And we're looking at this team saying easily should have two more wins than they have now. This team should have a better record, easily have a better record than the 49ers did last year with everything that they've had happen to them. You blow 2 10-point leads in the fourth quarter. So do I expect Mooney Ward to get back into form? I do. What I did like that he was much more physical in run support than he had been. I don't know if that's a sign that he's feeling healthier, if there's been a health issue there or what. But I did notice that he was much more physical in coming up and helping on the run on the outside than he had been. And that was a good sign. Now, I do believe that the PI that he was called for was completely bogus. That bailed Dallas out because Dak was throwing a corner route, like a fade, and the receiver was running more of a skinny post. So, that bailed them out, and I don't think that was actually pass interference. 49ers really just got nailed with penalties. And look, you can't put yourself in a position for that even to be called. But it's with Mooney Ward, I do hope, the optimist in me, because we've won and the vibes are a little bit better. My vibe says, I want to see Mooney have the same thing he had last year, which is ascend back into being the player that he has been, especially in the second half of the year. Again, remember last year, there was a lot of dogging of Mooney Ward. And then all of a sudden he came up with 3 picks down the stretch of the year last year. And everyone's like, that's the all pro Mooney that has been there. And he's playing back to his all pro level. That just seems to be the trend of this 49ers team. It's frustrating as can be, because you feel like if this team could ever put together a front half of the season, like in 2019, they would be cruising through number 1 seed, no problem.
Right.
But it's football, and that's why we play the games.
Yeah. And shout out to Lisa. She says Ward did have the core surgery. Thank you for the super chat. and he did make some good plays. It's not all bad. We get on Campbell and he made a couple. What did you think of the linebackers overall?
Our linebackers?
Yeah.
I thought they had one of their better games. I saw it was really early in the game. Everyone was saying that we put Devondre Campbell on CeeDee Lamb because his first catch was a stick route, 5-yard out route. And everyone's like, why are we, not a good idea to put Campbell on CeeDee Lamb. I'm like, it's zone. Like, you're going to get receivers on linebackers when you play zone. Like, that's one of the the downsides of playing zone, but you keep eyes on the quarterback, and you also can help against a run against a team that you are expecting to come out and try and run the ball on you, because they've been talking about it all week that they wanted to do that. So, I thought overall the linebackers played better than they had been. Some of that D Winters was out there flying around and hitting people, which is great to see. I think Devondre Campbell is starting to settle into the system a little bit more. Now I still want to see Dre Greenlaw out there, but I want to see a healthy Dre Greenlaw out there.
Right. Don't rush it.
I love the idea of D Winters, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw. That is circa 2019, circa 2022, the end of the year. When you had Azeez Al-Shaair, Fred Warner, and Dre Greenlaw. Like, that is what that lineup feels like, and D Winters is very much plays very similarly to Azeez Al-Shaair. People kind of, equate him to Dre Greenlaw, not quite as much. I really see a lot of Azeez Al-Shaair in D Winters. So, that I feel so much better about. I feel like there's so much more speed at the linebacker position, which is so much of what our cover 3 is predicated on, is speed at the linebacker position. And that has just been missing a little bit. And so I do believe that as things start to go and they, as you can put the Avengers back together, that you will see all facets of this team get better. I do believe the run defense will start to improve in that way. I believe third down defense will start to improve there. You will start to be able to get into the looks that you really want. And as Sorensen and Kasurik and all these different coaches start really being able to coalesce, what they're doing during the week and how they're putting their game plan together as a unit of coaches, that it's looking like it's getting tied together a little bit more each week, just a little bit more. They still have a ways to go, but these things do start setting up for the team to ascend down the last half of the year, and really be able to go. Because I think that the hope was, and the idea was, that coming into the beginning of this year, that the offense was going to be able to help the defense have more of a runway to get going with the change in defensive coordinator and the injury to Dre Greenlaw and the injury to Hufanga, of these guys coming back from significant injuries. But then you have the injury to Christian McCaffrey, you have the holdouts of Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams, and you have Deebo Samuel's in and out of the lineup, and you have George Kittle is in and out of games, and there's all these different issues. So that wasn't there to be able to get them that runway. They still could have been 6-2, but I do believe this team, their schedule in theory is going to be tougher in the second half of the year, but I believe they're being primed to ascend as a team.
Yeah, I just think the bye is at a perfect time. You leave on a high and refresh, get guys who are injured back. I mean, this is just shaping up so much better than how negative we were all feeling. There is one thing though that I am a little bit still, I don't know how I feel about it, and I need you to maybe talk us, because I'm not alone. The faithful are definitely feeling what I'm about to say. Brock Purdy doesn't look the same, and it is worrisome. So either talk us off the ledge, or can you point out something? And here's what I'll say. I just think that that first long throw to Debo, that was not a good throw. I don't care what you say. The way that Debo had to reach back for it, that was not putting it on him. And then the third down that easily should have been a completion to Debo, Debo did get a hand on it, and I will firmly say
So,
that
so
if you touch the
okay.
ball, you should catch it. However, don't give me that. That throw was terrible, and
Yeah,
it was
it
just an
was a
easy
bad
throw.
throw. It was a bad throw. Brock will tell you that. He missed George Kittle on a Dover route or deep in route on the left side. Like we saw that.
Talk us
Um,
off the ledge then, because
so I
I'm a
mean,
little bit like
would
worried.
would you like to see him lead Debo on down the sideline or the in that? Yeah. Does Debo still score a touch? Does Debo score a touchdown there? If he does, no, I don't. Look at the film. The safety had an angle. They had a couple guys who had angles on that. I think that play still ends mostly the way it did. Um, Now with that throw again, that is the throw that we have struggled with the Shanahan's entire tenure here. It's a rail route. So a rail route again, for those who haven't seen the route tree videos on the members website, a rail route is a go route that starts from an inside alignment. So it's going to come out and rail, and that play is called read rail. So it's a read route paired with the rail route, and we have run this play a lot. Very infamously, Adam, you were at the game. Jimmy G overthrew Juszczyk to where Juszczyk couldn't even catch it wide open on that same play. Okay. Um, the difficulty with that play is that understand that most of the offseason, that play is most likely Brock was throwing to Christian McCaffrey. And then this year, he's thrown it to Juszczyk twice. He's thrown it to George Kittle, and now he's thrown it to Debo Samuel. So you have 4 very different speeds of target that you were trying to go. And remember, most of these, and what Brock is so good at is throwing to a spot, right? So I'm trying to put it into a spot, and you're trying to adjust to where is that spot for George Kittle, where is that spot for Kyle Juszczyk, where is that spot for Christian McCaffrey, where is that spot for Debo Samuel, all from the same route. And really quick timing. So, does he need to throw that play a little bit better? Yes. Does he need to throw that ball a little bit better? Yes. But I'm still fine with a 40-yard completion. That's not the issue. Not having a 40-yard completion not be a touchdown is not your backbreaker. That if that's what you were relying on to win a game, that's not a good plan, and that's not a good way of going about the game. So, I that may sound like I'm trying to defend Brock Purdy. I like understand the difficulty in trying to make that same throw to pinpoint throw in stride to somebody, to all these different receivers running we're not talking like the difference of Brandon Ayuk to Debo Samuel. We're talking Kyle Juszczyk, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Debo Samuel. Those are very different speeds of how those guys are turning the corner, how quickly they're getting down the field, the acceleration in the 10-yard split, the 20-yard split. Like that's very different speeds. And with the margins in the NFL, you're talking the difference between an 8 to 10-yard window of difference of those guys. So, and they probably only practice that play twice during this year. So, that's something that you also don't want to lead. If that safety's closing, you don't want to lead him too far, as we saw with the Seattle game. If he had led him further in the Seattle game on that same route, then it's a big blow up and maybe even an interception. So I get where you're coming from. To me, that's not the play. Like, yes, he could have led him a little bit further. We see quarterbacks not lead guys. Now, we've also seen Brock Purdy hit Brandon Ayuk in stride for a 76-yard touchdown
For sure.
down the left sideline. So I always go back to what is the body of work, and are we still are you getting the layups? Those are the bigger things to me. When you're missing the layups, that's when you really start to struggle. And the first half, that's what we started to see. Then as we got into the second half, you saw he was making those layups. He was hitting those guys in stride. He's hitting George Kittle on an inbreaker for like a 6-yard pass that goes for 40 yards. Those are the ones that, to me, that's the bigger thing. You don't have to be as pinpoint 40 yards down the field. You got an explosive. If you're not pinpoint on that inbreaker, like the fourth down to Debo, wasn't pinpoint on it. If he hits him on that, if he breaks one tackle, he's gone. Now, It wasn't guaranteed that he was going to break that tackle, but he's got an angle. It's looking good. That's the bigger miss to me. When you're hitting Debo or George Kittle on that inbreaker, and it did not look good. The feet were off. But overall, I thought that was another solid game. I mean, when we're talking about a quarterback with 69.2% completion percentage and 260 yards, 10 yards per attempt, and we're saying, is there something to be concerned about? I think we'll take that at this point. Again, where do we want to see them see this in a while? I mean, Brock Purdy's on pace to throw for like 4,400 yards this year, 4,500 yards this year. I think we'll take that. That's more than enough. That's very good. And we've had, there was a drop on a screen pass to Debo that one would have been big. We had numbers in there. You have a huge touchdown call back because of stupid hold on Eric Saubert. I'm like all these things. I'm seeing that these things are there. I'm not concerned. I'm really not. He's still seeing the field well. He's still getting the ball where it should be the majority of the time, which is what you want from a quarterback. No quarterback is perfect. I can put on film of any quarterback in this league.
Sure. Tom
And
Brady.
say, okay, they missed this throw, So am I concerned? No.
So the numbers, 8 games played, so almost halfway, as the NFL now has 17 games. He has 242 attempts, 156 completions, which is good enough for 64.5% and a 93.7 rating, which as you get close to 100, that's going to be really good. And 2,101 yards, 262 yards a game, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 5 fumbles. And he did that weird Brock thing where he's not the biggest guy, so his hands are not the largest you've ever seen on a human. And he had that one play, and he's sometimes good
Sounds
for
like
one
the
of those per game.
Alex Smith thing again. Hand size. No, I
But
mean, the biggest thing when you look at our losses, too many turnovers. Brock has to protect the ball. I mean,
yeah,
I don't. You don't want him to be game manager, and I don't like that term anyways. But you don't want him to be game manager, but protect the ball. And that's what I did like is that when he starts to get in troubles, when he starts getting indecisive of maybe not trusting receivers or not trusting where things are going to be, and he starts getting a little indecisive and he doesn't just rip it or just take off and run. Whatever he does, you want him to be decisive. And that's what we saw so much more in the second half was he was decisive. And that's what I like. And the way he is willing to put the ball on in all areas of the field. So again, I don't have any issues with how Brock's playing. I think he's playing as well as about any quarterback is in this league. Now again, the touchdown interception ratio not good enough. A lot of
for
that
sure.
again has to do with
And he'll admit that.
with
Anyone can.
yeah, and we've had that's not all on Brock. I mean, as like I just talked about at the beginning or at the beginning portion of the show that we have not been running those pick and rub plays. And you see what happens when because people always say, how come I see other guys wide open in the end zone? Well, because they run their pick plays correctly. We ran one correctly, and George Kittle was wide freaking open. We have called something like 10 of those plays this year against that same kind of look and haven't executed it. And we don't have guys wide open. And when that doesn't work, you put your quarterback in a tough position because it's not as simple as, well, you just move to the next read in the progression. That's the play you were trying to execute and you didn't execute it. That's up to the wide receivers and tight ends and running backs and everybody involved in that to do that. I showed it on film. We tried to do that versus Seattle. We tried to do that versus Arizona twice. Didn't get either one of them. We tried to do that versus the Patriots. We tried to do it versus the Chiefs. We tried to do so many of these times, and they were just a tick off, not in the right depths, not in the right areas. And finally, you got one that works. And you see, those are the plays that have been missing with this team that we have had. That's why our red zone success hasn't been there. We haven't been able to run the ball as well. And you're seeing like the Chiefs, they were just doubling the inside guys. and they don't worry about the outside guys, and we're not running those pick plays to take advantage of that. Like, it's just one thing leads to another, and things were so off. So yes, those numbers are down, but I haven't looked at it and been like, okay, this is just Brock Purdy is playing poorly. Like, our execution on the distribution of everything was just not there. Last night we started to see that, and that's why I say the 49ers in that third quarter started to look like the 49ers. That everything just seems so easy for them when it happens, because when they put it together and the execution gets to the level they're expecting, they will blow everybody in this league away when their execution is on. But the problem has been for whatever reasons at different times, it hasn't been there. And that, I think, is what is so frustrating for us as fans, is when it isn't, because they can, but it's not a singular issue. It's not Kyle Shanahan. It's not Brock Purdy. It becomes, as a team, they get dysfunctional. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the standard is just set differently. It's hard to react correctly. And part of this, which was mentioned in the chat, I am being a little devil's advocate. I will all the way say that Brock is our franchise quarterback. In this little activity that I'm putting us through right now, I'm not in any way saying that I don't think he shouldn't be our guy for the next 10 years. He should. But I will admit that the normal Brock games, that I haven't really seen that for. And even yesterday, with some of those missed throws and that weird fumble thing, incomplete, whatever, that it's just a little like, come on, Brock. We know you're better than that. Like Glass City says, people have a lower tolerance for Brock mistakes, so it's hard to have an objective evaluation of him. All his negative
Well,
plays,
we
that's
as 49ers fans have a lower tolerance, in the sense that, because his mistakes pain us. They hurt us.
well, but
When
the
you watch,
media, I'm saying, like,
and
on the
now,
shows,
yeah, and shows they do, because they have to. There has to be a reason that Brock is not the guy. I still do not understand why. It's really not a love fest of, like, isn't this the story that you want, or is it just not the right sort of? I don't know. It doesn't fully make sense to me. Of the last pick in the draft, like, shouldn't you be championing that story? Shouldn't this be, if anything, 49ers fans going, whoa, 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 let's not talk him up too much. Let's keep it a little on the down low. But it just seems like, for whatever reason, there's a lot of people that want to jump on him for every little mistake, or it becomes this weird thing where it's either Kyle Shanahan completely makes Brock Purdy. But if the 49ers aren't playing well, Kyle Shanahan isn't creative enough. He isn't aggressive enough. He doesn't know how to get the most out of his players and put his players in the best position to win. So which is it? Because you can't be both. You can't, make up for all of these super major deficits with your quarterback and also do that. So there's a lot of just things of, people will look for negative engagement, and they try and do that. And I don't know. But we know that's not what we do here.
so. Quick question. This is just me and Johnny talking right now in front of an audience that can obviously react, and I'm just gonna ask, and the chat is going crazy. We love it. So don't be shy, chat. Keep going. But on this question, it's yes or no, and you can comment just
Okay,
simply yes or
am I
no.
in a are you about to ask me this, yes or no?
Yeah,
We're
and the
not in a
chat
court of
will.
law,
Yeah,
Adam.
yeah, yeah. Yes, we are. I've been watching
Your
Suits.
job is to find the truth,
Yes,
not to find
and
a sticky answer.
no, no, this is yes or no to an opinion. It's an opinion
Okay,
question.
okay,
It's
okay,
going to be an opinion, and there is
okay.
no wrong answer. I am truly curious, because you and I talk football a lot outside of this live
Yes.
chat, and it just came to me. I'm going to ask you. The chat is here so they can chime in. Be sure, by the way, to like and subscribe. Share this channel. You like what I'm doing now? I got everyone waiting. What is? But again, seriously, show your phone to Niner fans, guys, because we want to grow the channel. Because Johnny is scared. that Sports Idiot Nation is going to take over and have more subscribers because we have now hit over 12,000 subscribers on Sports
What the
Idiot Nation.
heck, man?
So if you have not checked it out, you are missing out. New shows
Took me
are
like 3
Mondays and
years to
Thursdays.
get that.
And it took us less than 3 months. Anyway, here's the question I am ready to ask. Just point blank, first thought, yes or no. Do you think in the next 10 years that Brock Purdy will win an MVP? Yes or no? It's a yes or no. It's not a well, you got just simply answer the question. What do you think? There's no wrong answer. There is absolutely no wrong answer. I'm just curious. And the chat, you're more than welcome to chime in. You can just type in yes or no. Agency 323 says yes. Jim
Okay, I'll
Cushman says
turn
yes.
this around and say, because I think the same factors are at play here.
Wow, there's a lot of yeses.
Will Fred Warner over the next 8 years win Defensive Player of the Year?
Yes, I would say yes. A lot of yeses, only 2 no's, and
So
a lot of votes.
understand that only one linebacker in the last 18 years has won Defensive Player of the Year.
I think he's that good. I think people
Yeah,
regard him
I
as
didn't ask if you think he's good enough.
No,
I
and
said, do you
because of
think
that,
he
I
will
truly do.
win?
That's my answer. And I could be wrong. This is just an opinion. I don't think anyone's going to attack me for saying yes about Fred Warner.
You think the media and everything will vote for Fred Warner over a defensive
Yes,
lineman?
I think so. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm just giving you my honest and
Because
first thought what comes.
right now, Fred Warner with the level he's played over the last eight weeks is like 4th in Defensive Player of the Year.
If he has a couple more picks, one of them's for a touchdown, I think you have to. Like you just simply do. That's my opinion though. That's why I'm saying there's no wrong answer. There is an overwhelming amount of yeses in than no's.
So the reason I say that is because
you're going to say
whatever
no now.
reason. Well, no. For whatever reason, like we know for Fred Warner, like when you're saying if Fred has a couple more picks and he has another pick 6, if his season ended today, the guy's got like 5 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, is leading the league, the team in tackles. He's still not solidified himself as defensive player. That he's in the conversation. What more does he have to do? I mean, even you could say so. Again, if Fred Warner continues the season he's having and doubles it by the end, he will still not win Defensive Player of the Year.
But we don't know. Those other guys could get injured. They could.
I get that, but I'm just saying, like, that is the perception around that award, right? That linebackers have the hardest time. Patrick Willis never won Defensive Player of the Year.
Right.
So again, we'll put that in perspective. Patrick Willis on a year, he had like 4 interceptions, like 4 forced fumbles, several sacks, led the team in tackles, did not win Defensive Player of the Year. Do you believe that Fred Warner will win a Defensive Player of the Year over the next 5 years?
I still think I would still vote yes. And again,
you
I
would
could
vote.
be wrong.
I'm not asking if you would vote. I'm saying, do you think that the landscape of how things are voted on, that he will? Because this is what you're asking me about Brock Purdy. And I think it's the same sort of uphill climb that Brock Purdy has to get that MVP. Is that for the same reasons that Fred Warner is not given, defensive player. I think he should be Defensive Player of the Year right now. I think everything. He should be Defensive Player of the Year. But the problem is, teams will say it's easier to scheme away from a linebacker than it is a dominant defensive player because they change the defensive lineman because they change the game so much. If you have a shutdown corner like a Darrelle Revis, who you cannot throw anywhere near their area, then you have shut that down. So it's a situation where I don't think, because of who he is and where he plays, he has an uphill climb. They're also going to say, well, yes, when you're playing behind Nick Bosa and Malik Collins, you can make a lot more plays. So I think there's an uphill battle for Fred Warner, that he not only has to be the best defensive player in the league, he has to do it by a wide margin to edge out some other players. That's the same way I feel about Brock Purdy when you say, can he win an MVP? Because Brock will always have Kyle Shanahan made him. And he's always going to have, he has Deebo Samuel, and he has George Kittle, and he has Christian McCaffrey, and he's got this great offensive system that did so well. He is hurt by Jimmy Garoppolo's success. Jimmy Garoppolo, they're going to say Jimmy G played really well in this system. So if we're, are we really willing to put a guy as MVP who gets 600 more yards and a few more touchdowns than Jimmy G? That with more weapons than Jimmy had. So that will always be the uphill battle that Brock Purdy has until he has to win a Super Bowl before I think he can be truly in the MVP consideration, because he has to establish that there has been massive success before people will assume it's his success. That is why I think I can't answer that in saying, do I believe he will have an MVP over the next 10 years? Do I believe he wins a Super Bowl? Yes. But that has to happen before he can have an MVP.
That comes first. That is the chicken or the egg. Shout out to Lisa again. Yeah, Fred doesn't get mentioned a lot. She says the only national media who talks about Fred is Acho. Yes, he does love him some Fred Warner. And I just think that the league sees, and the players definitely see, like Fred Warner will be higher on the, I love that NFL Network does their top 100 and it's player voted and all that. It's fascinating to see, except for the fact that they voted Aaron Rodgers still in the top 100 last year when he didn't freaking.
Well, it was like when Peyton Manning got voted in the top 100 the year he missed everything with his neck surgery, because everybody saw how bad the Colts were without him.
So it's almost like,
proved, yeah, it's that reverse thing of,
yeah, but like, come on, you're taking it away from a guy who
pulling him out of there.
Then.
But so going back to Bazamayan, this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Patrick Mahomes is currently in the top 3 for MVP voting.
His numbers are trash,
and he is not playing well. They are winning purely out of defense.
Yeah, look
that
at
defense is playing ridiculously well, and so. With that, but because Patrick Mahomes has got 3 Super Bowl wins, he is immediately at a front runner if his team is winning for MVP. That's what I'm talking about. That until Brock has that uphill climb, because of everything I laid out, that he's got to win the Super Bowl before he can actually have a chance to win an MVP. That's just the way it's going to be. That will not change. So, that's the thing, and I think Brock would much prefer a Super Bowl win over an MVP anyway. So, there it is. But let us get back to George Kittle having, becoming now 6th on the list all time, or 5th all time for catches as a 49er with I think he's got 502 now. I mean, come on, George Kittle. What's wild is that George Kittle is in his 8th season and he's got 500 catches. He could have 2.5 times the amount of catches he's had so far in his career, and he would still be short of Jerry Rice.
Well, he's a tight end.
Still.
But no tight end is going to be looked at as having catches near wide receiver, would you say? I mean,
Tony Gonzalez entered the chat.
and there you go. Who else? Like, that's it. Like, to have one outlier and everything.
Antonio Gates.
I mean, no,
Gronk.
He didn't have. But that's because the New England receivers were trash. They had Randy Moss on rental.
Stop.
No, you name one good Patriots wide receiver, which speaks to how good Tom Brady is, by the way.
There was a guy who had a few 1,300 plus yard seasons called Wes Welker. There was a guy, Julian Edelman. He had a few catches in the Super Bowl that did pretty well.
No more questions, Your
Randy
Honor.
Moss for a while.
Exactly. He was on rental, and they had when Julian Edelman and Wes Welker.
Okay. We have totally sidebarred here, but
that's fine.
Also look at how many yards George Kittle has. He's got 6,000 yards.
No, that's goofy.
He's still 13,000 yards behind Jerry Rice. Like, that is wild.
It's
Like, that
wild
is
how many
wild.
Kittle has, and it's wild how still far behind he is on that.
Yes. Like, and Jerry, when he left, lost an entire season to a torn ACL at 34 years old. Like, the more you see things right now, you're like, dude, this is wild. Like, how in perspective of the league, how great Jerry Rice really was. Like, we've known he's great, but when we start then putting it in perspective with some great players we've had, like Vernon Davis and George Kittle, and you're looking at the seasons that Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk have had, and you look at somebody like Julio Jones, who last year at 34 years old, everyone was like, he is a shell of himself. He is no longer, Julio. And you go at 34 years old, Jerry Rice tore his ACL and then came back and had multiple 1,000-yard years and several Pro Bowls and was an all-pro after that. Like, that is crazy to think about, where that Julio Jones this year would be Jerry Rice's coming back from a torn ACL year. Like, that is wild. I just had to say that. Like, good
No,
grief.
his numbers, they don't even make sense. And even with a pass happy league now, it just does not make any sense. And people that have wide receivers on their GOAT list, to not have Jerry just because he wasn't a physical specimen in the way that Randy Moss was a gazelle who could jump in the air and catch over anybody, and Megatron was named Megatron. So obviously there's a physical aspect there about him. And like these other guys, like and T.O. was an absolute specimen. But come on, we have taken a sidebar, but it's fun to just flat out say you're wrong if you don't put. And I will say Jerry Rice, with everything involved and as a whole, he's actually the best player to ever put on a helmet and football cleats. And I don't think there's an argument to be made that any quarterback, any linebacker, defensive lineman, anyone was better at putting on football cleats and a helmet than Jerry Rice. When you look at from longevity and how much better at his position that he was, I will take it that step further.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
But yeah,
again, I think we also have to remember that when the 49ers of old were so dominant and the quarterbacks look so great, remember, they had Jerry Rice. That makes a big difference. If you give Brock Purdy Jerry Rice, I think we're looking at some really good things. You put Jerry Rice in that Super Bowl against the Chiefs, prime Jerry Rice.
oh
I
my
mean,
gosh.
come on. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, when you got the GOAT, then that makes a difference. So,
Bazamine says, yeah, we were just lucky to have seen him play. I mean,
Lynn Swan with more speed.
yeah. And Lynn
That's
Swan
that's
is
what Bill
not,
Walsh's note on him was.
because back then Lynn Swan was kind of the standard to, look up to and see like, okay, that's the receiver that you want. Yeah. Okay, so as we go into the bye, let me ask you these questions. Give me some key factors of what you hope that the team can, I would say, get right on or
Yeah.
focus on, or some problem areas, or whatever. Let's go through those.
What I want to see is, I think defensive line, tighten up your assignments, tighten up your footwork. That's something that's been missing with some of the moving parts. Remember, there's very specific footwork involved with every player, so that your angles are correct. Let's get Dre Greenlaw another step closer to coming back. Let's get Christian McCaffrey back in there and get in a bonus practice where they can, go full speed. Uh, in practice and get that timing again down. It's going to be a little bit to get that timing with Christian McCaffrey, but remember, this is also one of the fiercest competitors that this team has ever had. Maybe outside Jerry Rice or Joe Montana, in Christian McCaffrey. He's a fierce competitor. So that's what I want to see, is really tie everything in there and keep ascending, and keep trusting in what you're doing and trusting the person next to you. You do that well enough, and you can go into Tampa Bay and be above 500. for the first time this season, or since week 2. So get in there, get above 500, and just stack your games. Take one game at a time. I just want to see this team really. I want to see them go 2 or 3 weeks without major injuries. Like, can we
And
have that?
can we get the
That's
trainer
really
in
all
here?
I want to see.
Yeah. I'll say the one thing is you want to go against the best to see where you stack up, and it is getting that way. Josh Allen has not thrown an interception yet, and he's very
Yeah,
prone
he did.
to. Did he yesterday
Yeah,
finally?
he threw one. He was targeting Amari Cooper. I watched that Seattle game until it was just like there was no reason to
Oh,
watch it
dude.
anymore.
Oh, yeah.
He threw one. It was a slant. Believe it was a double slant or lion. They were throwing, and one of the Seahawks guys. It was what's his butt. Anyways, he stepped in front of it, got physical with Amari, and picked it off.
So week 8, he threw his first pick when normally he practically leads the league. That's a good quarterback over there. We play them on Sunday Night Football in Buffalo in the cold. Tampa Bay, I know they lost to Atlanta, but hey, as weird as it is to say, Baker is actually, you look at the numbers, they
They
speak for
nearly came
themselves.
back against Atlanta. I thought that was a game that was shut down and cooked. Now, um, I was really hoping the Texans were going to be able to really challenge the Chiefs come January. I'm not sure that's going to be the case anymore. Stephon Diggs, now he hadn't been having a phenomenal season, but he's still a reliable target, a veteran wide receiver, most likely done for the year, torn ACL. That's what it sure looked like. I sent the
Yeah.
video of it to Coach Desi. We're going to have her on Friday. I told some people last week that we're going to have her on last week. And then I had a very important client that had something come up that I had to entertain. It was my 4-year-old daughter on a pumpkin patch field trip. So
That is a very important
that
client.
came up. That was a very important client. So we're going
We're
to have
not
Coach
mad at all.
Desi on. We're going to talk about Brandon Ayuk's injury. As she said, he has the unhappy triad, or the unhappy trio. And yeah, but I sent that video to her of Stephon Diggs because it looked like you could see a reverberation through his leg of that ACL snapping. And she said most likely that's what it was. She said now
Man.
it could have been that the hamstring decelerating, but most likely when you see that reverberation was the ACL. So the Texans, they have an uphill battle to have their weapons and go and do what they need to do. Their offensive line has been struggling. I was
Luckily, look at their
really, really
division.
pulling for them. I was really, really pulling for them to be somebody to challenge the Chiefs. I think it's going to come down to the Chiefs and Bills. The Ravens got beat by the Browns
That didn't
yesterday
happen to
after they
us.
traded away Amari Cooper. So I am interested with that Bills matchup that comes up later. That's going to be a tough game, but I do believe that actually a late season game against the Bills in Buffalo is better for the 49ers than an early season game. One, we've seen how this team is in the first half, but also this is a physical team. And when you get in the cold, when you get in the snow, when you get in those elements, a team that can physically run the ball has the advantage over a team that can't do that. That is a little more about other things. So, I think it bodes better for us where it is on the schedule than otherwise. I think that game and the Lions game and the Packers games are going to be the tough games that we really have down the stretch. Really, thankfully we should be getting better. The question is, we're also going to ask Coach Desi about Hafunga. He was spotted with a weird thumb brace. So what is the situation there? What is going on underneath the skin?
Yeah, lots to go through with her. Excited to talk more Niners football, of course. Excited for a bye to kind of take the fans get a bye as well, like to kind of exhale and not worry about the nervousness of watching and all that, and just enjoy football, see some of the other matchups, maybe check out a college game on Saturday, check out the IU Hoosiers from the state of Indiana. My lord, they might be in the top 12. Like, they might be going to, like, I mean, that's nuts because they are usually terrible. So, shout out to the IU Hoosiers. Shout out to the episode of Sports Idiot Nation that Johnny Dell is in, because the views are skyrocketing on that as well. Super fun talk about the Niners on that show, we talk about just teams of the decade and when you're a dynasty and that kind of thing. And the Niners obviously just have to come up again and again when you talk about dynasty. And it's a super fun conversation with me and the boys over at Sports Idiot Nation. So follow them on all the social medias as well and be one of the 12,000 subscribers if you haven't already. Be sure to show your phone with this channel to people in Niners gear. Head over to the website as well. I was talking to the guys from Sports Idiot Nation last night about the website because we're looking to do something similar now that we have 12,000 subscribers. We got to get on our merch and things like that. So shout out to Power Brand Systems who do that for Johnny. JFA49.com is the website. Make sure that you've checked that out. Terradome, man, big shout out. He's been all over the chat, giving it to us, and he shouts out the Johnny Depp Football Academy. Great stuff. Thanks for all the support, guys. This was a super fun show. We got on track, we got off track. It's Victory Monday. It was National Tight End Day. We just had a good time. This was awesome. Notorious GAV. Be sure to hit the notification bell because that's when you will know when the film breakdown will exactly be,
I,
because
I'm
it's hard to
targeting,
always say.
yeah, I'm targeting through the year to have it out by 11:30 a.m. Pacific time every Tuesday. That's the target. Now, last week, and I did, more of as people saw, more of the informal, not the full edited. It was a long video. There was a lot of issues to go through in detail. Part of that was and somebody in the comments on that video was like, bro, we don't want to know about your personal issues. I was like, I just said I wasn't feeling well. I had a migraine. I had a migraine for like 6 hours that day. After it was almost right after we got off this show. I had to go lay down for a while because I had a really bad migraine. So staring at a computer screen for 6 hours and working
Not
was not
fun.
on
Yeah.
the menu. And so that's why, for time reasons, I had to do what I did. But that's the goal is 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every Tuesday is what I'm shooting for.
So, having said that, be sure to hit the notification bell because it's just going to be easier that way because life happens. It doesn't always work that way. So, be sure to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share with friends and family. Definitely share with Cowboy fans just because that's a given. And we will see you Friday. So, in the meantime and in between time, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, go Niners.